In this video, we're gonna be talking about taking pictures for your reselling business. Stay tuned.
Won't nobody love you the way they should. Won't nobody check up on you, make sure you're good. Won't nobody check those body tremors for your neck.
Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park and I'm a part-time reseller on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, and Kidizen. When I'm not reselling, I am a full-time high school choir teacher. I'm a mom to 2 young kids. I'm married. I am busy in other arenas of my life as well. So first of all, let me say that when we talk about taking pictures, we're definitely talking about it from the perspective of someone who does not have that much time in her life. Like, I am not investing hours upon hours every day in making these pictures look amazing. And on top of that, I have learned some different hacks that have definitely helped me when it comes to doing the picture part of reselling in the most efficient way for me. So I'm going to be sharing all of my secrets with you. And at the end of the video, make sure that you stay tuned because I have one really great hack that I just learned from an Instagram follower that I'll be sharing with you regarding pictures, as well as a tutorial on how to get Pick, Tap, Go into the photo editing tools of just like your phone so that you can access it really quickly without having to quit out of your phone photo app and open up Pick, Tap, Go and just keep kind of going back and forth. This just makes that process really seamless. So if you want to see that tutorial, make sure that you stay tuned until the end of the video. This video is part of a series that I'm doing for the Summer Listing Challenge that I am hosting next week. The Summer Listing Challenge is basically an opportunity for you to create some goals for yourself centered around things like listing, relisting, and cross-listing. And the idea is that with the training that I'm providing this week and then next week's training that you will get from some live videos that I'm doing with other resellers, that you will have the tools and the resources and the knowledge that you need to build really good habits for yourself. And then you'll have next week to practice those habits and build up good habits and then just become more consistent as a reseller in those different tasks. And by doing so, hopefully you can carry those habits and consistency into the rest of the summer and really into the rest of your reselling journey. And so if that sounds interesting and exciting to you, I do have 2 links down below. One is the Google form that you need to fill out to fully register, if you want to call it that, for the program itself. And by doing so, you are eligible to win some really cool prizes. And then there's also a Facebook group. This Facebook group has been so amazing. People sharing just so much knowledge about the different things that they're doing to find success as resellers. And I personally have been learning so much. So even if all you gained from being a part of this listing challenge is access to that Facebook group, you will have gained plenty. So like I said, I do have links for those 2 things down below. Be a good friend. Tell your friends about the listing challenge. You can screenshot my face right here. And you can let people know that they only have until the end of the day, Saturday, to sign up. And then at that point, we're going to make the Facebook group private. And I'm going to stop accepting the Google form application. So if you're excited about the listing challenge or just ready to start talking about photos for reselling, hit that like button and let's get right to it. So like I said, we are going to be talking about this from the perspective of someone who does this part-time and also from the perspective of someone who does not like to spend a lot of money. I am going to be the first person to tell you that I don't have all of the newest, greatest equipment when it comes to photography, but I think I do okay. Like, I think my pictures look pretty good and, you know, I still sell stuff. So you don't have to spend a ton of money to get good results. And so the first thing that we're going to talk about is what makes good pictures for reselling. To some degree, I do think it depends on what platform you're selling on, but I think that there are 3 main things that you need to focus on regardless of where you're selling. And those 3 things are: you want your pictures to be clear, you want them to be clean, and you want to make sure that they accurately portray the garment that you are trying to sell. So first, let's talk about clear pictures. You want to use the best equipment that you have, but it doesn't mean that you have to go out of your way to buy something amazing. Right now, I do have, I think this is an iPhone 11. I don't even know because that's how little I know about technology. And I think my pictures look great. But before this, I had an iPhone 7 or a 6, and I thought the pictures looked great. And I used to have a student who would photograph some pieces for me, and she had an iPhone 5 or 6, and I thought her pictures looked great. So really, like, the majority of the smartphones that are on the market these days, and probably the smartphone that you use on a daily basis, the camera is probably sufficient at getting the job done. I know there are some people who use fancier cameras and they use like their DSLRs, but to be honest with you, I actually love taking pictures from my phone, because then what I do is I just take the pictures already on my phone and upload them to the different platforms that I'm selling on using their apps. And And that way I don't have to take the extra step of transporting, is that the word, export? Whatever, like getting the pictures from a different camera onto my laptop or getting them to my phone. Like they're just already in my phone, and then I can just directly upload them into the different apps that I'm selling on. So I love the ease of just taking pictures with my phone. And I think that really your smartphone is going to be good enough to get you some clear pictures. There are also some things that you can do with editing to make them even more clear or to make the items pop even more. And we'll talk about some of those editing hacks later on in the video. But just using your phone, I think that that's enough. Secondly, you want your pictures to be clean. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that one, the garment itself is clean, the one that you're taking pictures of, so that people understand that you're sending them something that is clean and not something that they're going to have to spend a lot of time washing or lint rolling or anything like that. And you also want to make sure that the background is clean. So for example, I know that I have a hard time sometimes with maxi dresses because they're so long, and it'll show my baseboard sometimes. It'll show maybe like piles of clothes that I have on the ground next to the maxi dress. And so I personally take the time that it takes to clean up my pictures so that you don't see a lot of those things in the background. I also know that some people like to model the items that they're selling for their pictures, and some people will stand in front of their mirror and literally just, you know, take a picture of themselves in the mirror wearing the clothes. And I've seen some closets where like that is the cover photo for every picture, and it actually looks really cool. But you want to make sure that the reflection that we're seeing is showing a neat and tidy room, because again, if your bed looks crazy or if you've got garbage on your nightstand, we as your potential buyer are going to assume that the clothes are just coming from a dirty place. And I don't know about you, but for me, that would really deter me from wanting to buy from that person. So take the time to lint roll your clothes. If there's a bunch of like animal hair on the item or just a lot of those little fuzzies, take the time to clean your room if you're going to be taking pictures in front of your mirror. But you just want to make sure that your pictures are clean so that your potential buyers can buy from you in full confidence. And then lastly, you want to make sure that the pictures accurately portray what the garment itself looks like. And this is going to take us into our next point really well, but essentially you want to find the best medium through which you can take a picture of this particular piece of clothing that will show it in its most accurate state. So this brings us, like I said, to my next point, which is what are the different options when it comes to taking photos for reselling? I actually have a list in front of me, so I'm going to read off of this. But one thing that you can do is you can hang your garment and put it against the wall. You can take pictures of an item in a light box, like a photo box. You can put items on a mannequin or on a dress form. You can also do a flat lay, which is basically you're laying the item on the floor. Some people like to accessorize the flat lay with other things so that it's not just the garment that you're seeing, but it looks a little bit prettier. And then finally, you could model the item yourself. So let's talk about each one of these options a little bit and what kinds of garments are best to photograph with each scenario. So the first way that you can picture an item that I mentioned was you could hang it and put it against your wall. If you don't have a good wall with good lighting that you could take a picture of, then you could put it on a door, like I've seen some people use a door frame. You could even hang it from like your dresser or something, but you just want to find a space on the wall where you can hang your garment so you can take pictures of it. For me personally, this is what I do with 99% of my pictures because I find it to be the quickest and I find it to be the most efficient. I have a simple command hook that will take the weight of most of my clothes. I have had it fall down a couple times with like heavier jackets and stuff, but I just put the command hook pretty high to account for things like maxi dresses. And I have a nice wooden hanger that was just in my house for some reason, and I will hang everything on that hanger on the command hook. It is so fast and so easy to take pictures this way, and most things look pretty good on a hanger. The next option that I gave was a light box. This is definitely a little bit pricier, and it's 100% not necessary if you're just starting out or if you don't have the funds to purchase a light box quite yet. But there are a bunch of different kinds of light boxes on the market. I do have a video right here that I will link where I talked about my photo light box that I got, and I show myself using it and I give an honest review of it. Spoiler alert, I love it. But in that light box, it's the perfect size to take pictures of shoes, purses. I've even taken pictures of backpacks in there. And so that's what I use my light box for, is like for those smaller things. However, before I purchased my light box, so for like the first 2 years of reselling, I would just take pictures of those kinds of things that I just mentioned, either on my couch or futon, or even on the floor. And I think that that is totally fine as well. You don't have to have a light box, but for me, I really wanted to make the investment because it enabled me to take pictures of something in the evening after my kids went down. We'll talk about lighting later, but for me personally, I don't have any light boxes or soft boxes, I think they're called. I don't have any big ring lights that I use when I take pictures. I rely 100% on natural light. Therefore, the only time that I can take pictures of the majority of my clothes is during the day when I have good lighting. But this light box enabled me to have an option to take some pictures even in the evening time. I also take pictures of a lot of my baby clothes inside of this light box because they're so small, and because I don't want to take the time to like grab another hanger to swap out for the bigger one that I use for the majority of my clothing. I just, keep it simple and take pictures of my little itty bitty baby clothes in this light box as well. The next option that I mentioned was the mannequin or dress form option. I do have a dress form that I purchased at a garage sale, and I got it for really cheap. I got it, I think, for like $10. So if you are looking for a good mannequin or dress form, I definitely recommend looking on Craigslist or just shopping at local garage sales to see if there are any cheap mannequins or dress forms for sale. Another thing I'd recommend is, to be honest with you, there are a lot of retail stores that are just not doing very well, and a lot of retail stores that are closing down for good. I would reach out to them and see if they're selling any of their mannequins for cheap. You could even see if they're selling like commercial grade garment racks or any other fixtures that might be able to help you for your business. But specifically, I would ask about their mannequins because you can probably buy one at a fraction of the price that it would cost to buy one new, because I have heard that mannequins can get pretty pricey. I do really love my dress form, however. I think it gets the job done, and to be honest, I think a dress form saves much more time than a mannequin. And as you can see, the mannequin has like the arms and stuff that you have to screw on and off every time you want to put an article of clothing on it, whereas a dress form, it's shorter and there are no arms, and so it's a lot easier to put a garment on a dress form than it is on a mannequin. However, I do think that using a mannequin or a dress form is much more time consuming than hanging the item and putting it against the wall or even in your light box. So I definitely only will use my dress form when I have an item that just does not look good on a hanger against the wall. This pertains to a lot of dresses. Like some dresses, the way that they're made or the material that they're made of, they just don't hang very nicely. Or maybe they have some unique cutouts or an open back that you just can't really capture in all of its beauty unless you use a mannequin or a dress form. I will also sometimes use my dress form for accessories like scarves or for bags, but really other than that, I don't use my dress form very often because it takes a lot more time. However, calling back to my video that I did 2 days ago on batching, and if you haven't watched that yet, I highly recommend it if you want to learn different ways of saving time with your everyday reselling tasks, and I'll link that right here. But if you want to batch your photography even more in depth, one thing that you could do is, have a bin where you put everything that needs to be photographed on a dress form so that you're not constantly running around going back and forth from your dress form to the wall to the light box, but you have, things in different spaces so that when you're like mentally prepared for it, okay, today's going to be a dress form day or today's going to be a mannequin day, and you focus on this stockpile of clothing that will only look good on a mannequin or dress form. The next option when it comes to photographing is doing a flat lay. And like I said earlier, a flat lay is when you lay it down on the floor, or some people will use like a pretty backdrop. There are companies that sell different like stone looking materials that you can lay your clothes on. To be honest, I think that they're really expensive and 100% unnecessary. You can buy, to be honest with you, like just a nice piece of white poster board for 99 cents at the Dollar Tree, put that on the ground, and then create your flat lay, because no one will know that it's a poster board. And with that clean white slate, you can, create whatever look you want. Some people will lay their item down, let's say it's a pair of jeans, and maybe next to it they'll have like a nice little candle and then like a flower and a book or something. I've seen some wonderful flat lays, and then I've also seen some flat lays that just the person got a little carried away. Like, it's really hard to tell what is being sold because there are like 100 things in this picture. I have tried flat lays in the past. I'm not a huge fan of them just because for me, it takes too much for me to be creative in that way, in that moment. Like, I'd rather reserve that creative energy for other things. And also it's a lot of getting up and down, right? Like, you have to get down to place your garment, you take pictures of it, you have to get down again to pick it back up and put something else in its place. It's a lot of like rearranging the little accessories that you have around the garment. For me, it's not my cup of tea, but some people just, again, are really killing that flat lay game, and they find a way to make it look really good. And hopefully they're also really efficient with the process that they use to create these flat lays over and over again. The last example that I can think of as far as how you can take pictures is to model the items that you are going to sell. Now, obviously this does not work 100% of the time because you are not always going to be the size of the garment that you are selling. In my case, I am a size 0, I am 5 feet tall, I am extremely short. There is not a lot of clothes that fits me. To be honest, a lifelong dream of mine has been, well, first of all, to recreate the Harry Potter movies and like stay true to the book 1000%, like go page by page and show every detail from the book. I mean, these movies will be like 12 hours long, but I don't even care. I just want to create movies or TV shows that 100% accurately depict everything that happens in the Harry Potter books. That's number one. And number two, I've always wanted to create a clothing line or like a clothing store for people like me who are in between kids and women's sizes. Like, I cannot even begin to tell you how hard it is for me to find clothes, especially bottoms. So that was kind of a tangent. I apologize. We were talking about how no one is going to fit into everything that they sell. So there is a flaw already right there. Also, I do think that modeling, while it can be so great as far as really showcasing what the garment looks like on, there are a lot of flaws in that what it looks like on you, that's not necessarily what it's gonna look like on the buyer. I have heard some stories of, buyers being really upset because they bought a garment and it didn't look the same way on them as it did on the person who modeled the item. The same thing goes for stock photos, but that's just, one of the risks that you take when you model something. I would also say that modeling is probably the most time-intensive option of all of the ones that I've listed, because if you think about it, it is you constantly having to, take off what you were wearing previously and put something else on. And then you have to just kind of like also style different things, whether it's your hair, whether it's, I don't know, you just, you have to like create a look, and that takes time. At the end of the day, I still think that it's gonna take the most time because you can't get around the fact that you have to change in and out of all of the clothes all the time. One tool that I do think you have to have though, if you are going to model your photos, is a clicker, just something like this. This is off of Amazon. I'll link it down below. I'll link my ring light too that I use for YouTube videos, because if I ever do model stuff, and I have very minimally, but if I do, this is the setup that I use. I have my little ring light, but I use it more as like a stand for my phone, and I'll just put my phone in there. I have a little extra light, and then you just kind of hold this in your hand, you kind of hide it, and you just click away. And I think this thing was like $3 or something. It was really, really cheap. So definitely a really smart, purchase if you are going to be modeling your clothes. Next, let's talk about what do you need to take pictures of for your listings. I have a list of things that I make sure I take pictures of for each garment, and I make sure to put all of those pictures in each of my listings. The first thing you want to do is obviously take a picture of the front and of the back. The next thing I do is I take a picture of the brand tag, and if there's a size associated with the garment, I take a picture of that as well. I'm thinking about like a lot of jeans, they will have the style name of the jeans on the inside of the jeans, but like opposite of where the brand label is. So I will take a picture of the style name. I will take a picture of the materials tag, as well as how to wash the garment. And a lot of times that means you have to flip the tag over. If there are any special details on a garment, like if there's embroidery or if there is jewel details, I will take a close-up of those details. And I'll do the same thing if there are any flaws. If there is like a little tear, or if there's some heel drag on the hem of a pair of jeans, I will make sure to take a close-up picture of those items. And that's for two reasons. One, it's so that the buyer can see what those flaws are and they can see them, more close up. Some people will even go so far as to, take a picture of the flaws with their measuring tape so you can actually see in the pictures how big the flaw is. Some people will do the same thing by like holding up their finger or a pen or something, so that again, people can look at the picture and get an idea of the size of the flaw. The second reason why I think it's important to take pictures of flaws is for yourself while you're listing the item. I don't don't know about you, but I try to take a lot of pictures at one time, and it's hard to remember, later that day, or maybe even sometimes, honestly, in my case, days later when I finally get to listing those items, it's hard to remember which ones had flaws and what the flaws even were. So if I have those pictures in my phone as I'm listing, I'll see the picture of the flaw and be like, oh yeah, those pair of jeans had like a small hole near the crotch. Literally happened to a pair of jeans that I sold last week. And so I'm able to make sure that I talk about that flaw in the description. And then finally, the big debate: should you or should you not take pictures of measurements or include measurements? So a lot of people will say, yes, you absolutely need to include measurements in your listings. And some people will say, I don't do it anymore because it saves me a lot of time not to. I still fall under the camp of believing that measurements are necessary. And I actually will take pictures of the measurements. What I mean is I will take my measuring tape and I will lay it down, let's say on a pair of jeans, I'll put it along the waist so that people can see the waist measurement. I will do the same thing for the inseam, and I will do the same thing for the rise. I won't actually take the time to write what the measurements are in my listing, but because I have the pictures there, the buyer can look themselves and see what the measurements are. It also gives them an idea of how I came up with those measurements, and I usually find that that helps answer any questions that people might have about measurements. I have talked about that before, and I have had some viewers say that they don't like to do that. They don't like to take pictures of the measurements because, perhaps we are pulling it too taut, or perhaps, I don't know, it's just talking about how there could be a lot of human error involved in that. But personally, I have not ever had a situation where someone opened a case or someone was displeased with the measurements that I provided in picture form. I've never. So either I'm really good at taking measurements, or again, it just, people being able to see it for themselves, that was enough for them to make an educated decision as to whether or not, the article of clothing would fit them. The next thing we're going to talk about is lighting. So like I said earlier, I have not invested any money into, these soft lights or big ring lights or just like big lighting systems. I am pretty frugal, so that's part of the reason why, but also I have young children at home who would find a way to, knock those things over and destroy them. And I don't like the idea of taking the time every time I want to photograph something to set it up and then tear it down. So for me, I'm lucky enough that I have some spots in my house where, I get good natural light. I have a big enough space on my wall that I can just hang stuff on that wall and I'm good to go. I do have to do a little bit of editing, but I've heard that people have to edit even when they take pictures with their big lighting systems or with a ring light. So I think we're still in the same camp, only I don't have to set up and tear down my natural light. I do think that having natural light definitely helps you most accurately depict the color of your pictures, but I do think too that with natural light, sometimes you don't have enough exposure, or your photo still might need a little bit of help. And so that'll take us into our next topic here in a second. But the last thing that I'll say about lighting is there are some great options when it comes to photo boxes or light boxes. The one that I have, again, it's a little bit smaller, and I will have an Amazon affiliate link for it down below, but it is really perfect for creating just like the perfect backdrop with the perfect lighting for all of my shoes, small accessories, baby clothes, anything that'll fit in that box. I've also seen on some people's YouTube channels and on their Instagrams, these huge honkin' really tall light boxes where they have like a rack and you can hang clothes from it, even like long maxi dresses, and you can even yourself, if you want to step inside of the light box. So that's another really great way to, create a situation for yourself, especially if maybe you just don't have any space in your house with good natural light. That's a really good space to take pictures, and you can take pictures any time of day. So I will link an example of that down below as well. I have not personally used those really big ones, but I have used obviously my smaller photo light box, and I do love it. I will say though, I still have to edit my pictures if I really want a crisp white background. So let's talk about some photo editing tools. I use a total of 3, I don't even know that you would call them all apps, but I use a total of 3 photo editing tools for my pictures. The first one that I use on all of my pictures are the built-in photo editing tools on my iPhone. With my iPhone, I can raise the exposure of all of my pictures if I want to, and I do. That's usually the first step that I take, is I just raise the exposure if there just wasn't enough light on the item. I can also use my iPhone editing tools to do things like crop pictures or rotate pictures. So even within, you know, my iPhone, the photo editing tools are pretty sophisticated and you can do a lot with them. The next app that I'll use is called PicTapGo. It is not free. I don't remember off the top of my head how much it is, but I will put it right here. And really, I only use this for one purpose, and it's for one filter, and that filter is lights on. So this kind of does the same thing as what your iPhone can do, but it does it better and it does it quicker. So essentially what it does for you is you press the button and it makes it look like there is sunlight bathing your item with natural light, and it's great. And at the end of the video, I'll give you a tutorial on how to put this app within your phone's editing app. So definitely make sure that you stay tuned until the end of this video if you want to see that. But I will use PicTapGo on the majority of my cover photos to just brighten them up and make them have more light to them. The last app that I use to edit my photos is Google Snapseed. It is 100% free, and this is what I use for a lot of different things. One, for eBay pictures especially, eBay has come out and said that the best photo background is just a crisp white background. And they've gone so far as to create a way within their website, an app where you can like put a white background to an item if it doesn't already have a white background. That's how much they value the white background. I've actually tried that a couple times. I personally did not have success with it. I know a lot of viewers have said that that's what they use now and it's so easy. It didn't really look good for me, but I might be doing something wrong. I don't know. But that's how much eBay values a stark white background. And I'll be honest with you, I just do that for all of my photos, even over on Poshmark, because I do think it's like the cleanest and least distracting look. So Google Snapseed has a bunch of tools to help you do that. I'm not going to take the time to show you how I use Google Snapseed to do these different things. I do have a video right here where I go through those steps, but basically I will use the selective function to really whiten the background. And then I will also use the healing function if I want to clean up any sort of like miscellaneous mess that might be next to an item, especially longer items like maxi dresses. Because you have to like really move back to fit that whole dress in the frame, you might also get like a mirror that was next to the dress or a pile of clothes that are over here. And so this enables you to crop all of that mess out really easily. Next, let's talk about our cover photo. And this is arguably the most important photo of all of your listings because it's the cover photo that's going to dictate whether or not someone actually considers buying your outfit. They're not going to see any of the other photos in your listing unless they click on your listing itself, and they're only going to do that if the cover photo draws them in. And for that reason, I only spend time editing the cover photos in my listings. I used to take the time to brighten every single picture, but now I don't, because once they're already there because of the cover photo and they have an idea of what the garment looks like and they're interested in it, the other photos really are there just to serve as a reference for them regarding, you know, the measurements, regarding what the garment is made out of, regarding the size. They're not really looking at the other photos to see how pretty they are, but at that point, it's really just to help them make an educated decision as to whether or not they want to purchase this item from you. I also like to have some unedited photos in there so that the buyer has an opportunity to see the difference in color between the unedited photos and the edited cover photo. There have been times, especially when I take pictures in my dining room against like this rich navy wall, the color might come across as a little brighter or a little darker than what it actually does. And then I take pictures of my measurements just on the carpet in my dining room. And sometimes I'll notice that the picture of the garment looks much more true to its actual color in the pictures with the measurements, just like on the ground, than it does on the wall. And so in my description, then I will actually write the color of this garment looks more like the color you see in the pictures with the measurements. Because I don't want anyone to be surprised when they get the garment in the mail and they're like, this is not at all what I ordered. The same thing happens even with, you know, big clothing brands. They will get in trouble sometimes because the pictures that they show on their website just doesn't end up being the actual picture of the garment. It's really hard to get like the most accurate picture of a color sometimes because, you know, it just really depends on so many different variables, but definitely try to do the best that you can. And like I said, that's why I do like to have some unedited photos as well so that I can refer people to those pictures if that's going to help them understand what the color looks like more. Sometimes I am selling lots, especially when it comes to kids pieces. Like maybe I'm selling 3 pairs of jeans that are all in the same size and I want to be able to show all 3 of them. Sometimes what I'll do is I will use the app Instagram, and what Instagram allows you to do is it allows you to create layouts for your pictures. So one layout that I use often is basically, you know, the square mode picture, but within it, there's like a grid. So you have 4 individual pictures. So sometimes what I'll do is I will take that lot of 3 jeans and I will show the front of each pair of jeans. And then maybe in the last remaining box, I will use an app like Canva, which is free, just to create a really quick graphic that says something along the lines of lot of 3 jeans for size 7. And that way, when people see my cover photo for that particular listing, they can see right away what all 3 pairs of jeans look like. And they even have a description of what it is that's being sold. So the cover photo can be an opportunity for you to showcase even more than just one item if what you're selling is a lot, or maybe you're selling a 2-piece suit and you want to be able to show both the top and the bottom of that suit. So you can get creative with your cover photo. And like I said, 2 free apps that I would recommend to create that kind of a cover photo is Instagram Layout and Canva. And one reason why it's important to be thoughtful of all of these things is because hopefully when someone visits your Poshmark closet or your eBay store, they're not only going to buy that one item that brought them there in the first place, but hopefully while they're there, they'll browse around. And it's really cool if as they're scrolling through your closet, you have a uniform look to your pictures. So for me personally, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I sell a little bit of everything. I don't curate my closet. I don't only sell like men's pieces or only sell women's pieces. I sell anything that will make me a buck or two, but the overall look of my closet, I think, is pretty uniform. The majority of the clothes are on the wall. There's a nice clean white background. There's a scattering of some stock photos, but it's a pretty clean presentation as you're scrolling through my closet. And I do think that that helps people, you know, stay in your closet and hopefully look around a little bit more. Okay, you made it to the end, so let's talk about 2 hacks. One is something that I just learned from Instagram from one of my followers. I'm gonna show her comment right here. This blew my mind because I always have the issue when I'm taking pictures of photos just kind of rotating on their own. And so she taught me that you can actually lock your phone so that things will not rotate. Not only pictures, but even like, I don't know if you've ever been watching YouTube and you just need to like turn your phone to the side for some reason, and then like your video will turn to the side too. So you can use this for that as well.
Just in case you didn't catch that, this is that little screen that you get when you swipe down from the right side of your phone. And this is the button right here that will keep your phone from rotating pictures on its own. Amazing.
Like, that's amazing. I was so excited to hear that. And then secondly, I did tell you that I was going to show you how to install Pick Tap Go as part of your phone's photo editing tools.
Here we are in my photo album, and I'm going to show you 2 hacks in one using this black Free People beach dress. The first thing we're going to look at is how to access Pick Tap Go quickly. It is different than what, you know, some of you might be used to in the older iPhone models. This, I think, is an iPhone 11. As you know, I'm not super tech savvy, so I don't even know which iPhone I have, but it is one of the newer ones. And as a result, when you click on edit, it used to be that at the bottom of where it says like cancel, or it has those 3 different icons, you used to be able to put Pick Tap Go right there so that it was like a one-stop shop. Like not only could you, you know, change the different exposure or brilliance or highlights right when you open the app, not only could you change the different filters or even crop, but right next to like basically the crop feature, you could put Pick Tap Go and it was really easy to access it. But now I do have to go into edit and I do have to click on the icon in the top right hand corner with the 3 dots. And here is where I can find Pick Tap Go. It's not like that much longer, but it is, you know, obviously a little more cumbersome than what it used to be, but it still works just fine for me. So now I'm here and I'm going to go ahead and go with lights on, and as you can see, it just instantly brightens up the entire picture. It helps us see the details on the black dress much nicer, and it even whitened the background quite a bit. I'm going to take that one step further, and this is the second hack that I do for all of my clothing items that are black. And I know a lot of you have shared with me that you just hate having to edit pictures of black clothing because you can't seem to make them look good. But what I do again is I will go into to exposure, and I will increase the exposure even more so that, again, you're seeing more of those details on this black dress pop. You're seeing the dart lines, you're seeing the neckline really clearly, and you know, the more I raise the exposure, the more you can see, although now it just looks kind of crazy. So you don't want to go too crazy with it. You want to, you know, keep it looking as natural as possible. So if we raise it by 20%, I think that that does a really good job of, again, showcasing the black dress and also even whitening the background, so much so that for this picture, I don't even think that I need to go into Google Snapseed and brighten the background. So I can click done, and let's have a quick look at the before and after of this dress. So this is the after. This is after we use Pick, Tap, Go and after we used just the exposure setting on the iPhone. But if I want to see the before picture, I can just press revert. And this is what it looked like before. Such a huge difference. Super easy to make this picture look a gazillion times better. So that's my hack for you today.
All right, guys, hopefully this has served as a really great comprehensive view on how to take pictures for your reselling business that will actually attract people to your listing and hopefully help you make the sale. If you have any other tips when it comes to photos for reselling, even if it is not really in line with some of the tips that I've shared, because this is just what works for me, obviously, but if you have any other suggestions, please share them down in the comments below, because as always, I am always learning so much from you guys. I really value everything that you have to share. And then also, if you're watching, spend some time in that comment section and engage with other people, because people have some really great tips to share. If you learned anything, please consider hitting that like button on your way out. And if you aren't subscribed already, definitely consider subscribing as well, because I'd love to have you as part of our community here. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.